Hello, my beauties and bees. Thank you so much for joining me today in Strange Science, because we have a cool topic that came out years ago and was always on the back burner to talk about, but I never did. And now I'm actually in a place where I was just came up on a conversation that I had live. And we talked about it, and I wanted to do a little piece on it. This will be a short section, and then I got a video that we're going to cover with some animal science. So we'll see. All right, first things first. Let's pop on in here and look at Earth may have once been purple. And this is by Elia Kovner. She's a science writer. This is IFL Science. You know, it's one of my favorite sources because I like the way their articles are written. They're written fun. All right, so before the evolution of chlorophyll-based algae turned large swaths of our planet green, young Earth might have sported patches of a lovely purple hue. This theory, put forward by molecular biology professor Shiladita Dasarma, I'm going to butcher that name, and I'm so sorry, and astrobiologist Edward Schwaderman, is based on observations that nearly all forms of life, back to the most ancient single-celled organisms, produce a pigment that can drive a light-to-energy reaction using photons in the yellow to green spectrum, making it appear purple when light in the blue and red wavelengths are bounced back. Outlining the purple Earth argument in the International Journal of Astrobiology, authors explain that the chromoprotein retinol is excellent at absorbing light in the 490 to 600 nanometer range. I think that's nanometer. When bound inside a cell membrane, retinol can use the sun harvesting energy to build ATP, the cellular fuel molecule. Now, this version of the phototrophic process is not very efficient compared to photosynthesis, and it does not result in the creation of free oxygen or sugars. But retinol is a much simpler molecule than chlorophyll and is therefore easier for cells to make. Retinol-based phototrophic metabolisms are still prevalent throughout the world, especially in the ocean, and represent one of the most important bioenergetic processes on Earth, Dasarma told Astrobiology magazine. Check it out. Here's some cool images of the purpleness of these life forms. In Australia, salt ponds with a bloom of purple microorganisms, a gradient of the pigment found in the Halobacterium sp, and archaea with retinol-based metabolism. That's this right here. Retinol-based metabolism is super purple, makes these waterways purple. Attempts to estimate when early life gained the ability to make the pigment using a genetic mutation analysis technique called the molecular clock have been hazy thus far, but the evidence suggests it was very soon after life emerged, some 4 billion years ago. Similarly, researchers are unsure about the precise time frame of chlorophyll's emergence, but we do know that it happened at some point before 2.3 billion years ago, when, due to a combination of poorly understood factors, existing single-cell photosynthetic algae suddenly took over the ecosystem, causing what is called the Great Oxygenation Event. And Beamsy was telling me about this, because I always associated oxygenation event with the Carboniferous rainforest collapse. According to Dasarma and Schwaderman, one significant cause of the switchover was the evolution of increasingly efficient chlorophyll systems, which allowed organisms with them to outcompete the more primitive retinal phototrophs. Evolution of inoxygenic photosynthesizers was followed by oxygenic photosynthesizing cyanobacteria and ultimately eukaryotic algae in plants. They wrote, the development of eukaryotic algae and complex plants and their spread throughout the terrestrial environment allowed the evolution of land animals and ultimately intelligent life. Yet, prior to Earth's conquest by complex chlorophyll-based organisms, the first living things may have thrived by evolving the means to harness retinol for their metabolism, thus explaining why the genes to produce components of this pathway are present in modern-day organisms whose ancestors branched away from one another very early on. Then, exploiting an unfilled niche, a primordial chlorophyll-based metabolism cropped up, and two existed harmoniously for some time. For chlorophyll, the optimal light energy is around 350 to 500 nm and 680 to 700 nm. The exact band of the visual spectrum that retinol molecules bounce back entirely. This is exactly what got us thinking that the two pigments, retinol and chlorophyll, may have co-evolved, Deswarma said. To further investigate the purple Earth hypothesis, he and Schwitterman proposed future work focusing on natural communities of retinol-based phototrophs in diverse environments, as this may reveal unexpected roles and niches for this metabolism and inform its evolutionary origin. I think that's it on that topic. But yeah, amazing hypothesis, and I kind of like this one. Like that artist's impression of how the Earth might have looked at the time with the retinol-based phototrophs. Check that out. Here's a similar display of the retinol pigmented organisms down here. And there's a lake in Australia, the pink lake on Middle Island, Western Australia. There's a whole bunch of these lakes in Australia that have these organisms in them. But yep, that's I just had this up for those pictures. But so that was that. That's our strange science for the day. Thank you so much for sticking with me and hanging out. And please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time.